This morning I would hop on here and chat dark circles and oily skin. So I'm just gonna get right to it. So coming from an oily skinned gal, I have recently discovered that my mom is always right. I mean, I've known this for about 10 years now, really known it for like 10 years, but she would always tell me, you need to moisturize. And I was always like, it just adds more oil to my skin. So truthfully, up until about 6 months ago, I didn't moisturize my face like at all. I would wash it, but not moisturize it because I just felt like it added an extra layer of oil to my skin. What my skin was doing was overproducing oil. And so now that I've been consistently using a really good moisturizer, it has completely changed the oil content of my skin. And so they were right. So tip number 1 for oily skin, find a good moisturizer. I had always used the cheaper ones, and I'm not saying that money more expensive means that it's better, because that is not the case, but I would use like Oil of Olay was kind of my go-to. Mostly because it had SPF. That was kind of why I did it. But once I found our Saint moisturizer, I was like, okay. At first it feels kind of like it's gonna make my skin even oilier. But then I let it sit for just a few minutes, and then I apply my makeup, and it is like a total dream. And so the packaging looks a little bit different now. But it comes in a, how many ounces is this? Oh gosh, I can't remember. I wanna say like 1.7 or 2 ounces. But what I really like about it is you don't use too much because it has this pumper right here. So you just pump it up and it gives you like the perfect amount of moisturizer. Plus it keeps all of that bacteria out. You're not constantly touching it. And so for me, I really love that little pumper, even though I always tend to use too much. I'm just putting that extra pump on my hands because I've been washing my hands so much lately, as I'm sure most of you have too. So my hands are just dry as a bone. Okay, so that's my first tip, is to invest in great skincare. Your makeup is never going to be great if your skin isn't great, and so skincare is number 1 priority. And I have a routine that I am loving right now, and that Milk, or that Saint, we changed it now to Saint Moisturizer, Saint Cream, is the icing on the cake, okay? So that is step number 1. Okay, so I'm gonna jump ahead here and talk about dark circles, and then we're gonna come back to oily skin. So when you look at your dark circles, it's important to actually, oh, that's scary, to actually look at them and look at the tones and look at the colors that are in your dark circles. And I can help you with that. Because what I would have done in the past, before I knew better, is I would go to Walmart, Target, Sephora, wherever I was buying makeup, which was like all the places. And I would choose a super duper light colored concealer. Raise your hand if you've done that, right? Okay. But my dark circles tend to take on almost a bluish purple undertone. And so when I was putting basically white concealer on top of that, it was turning it almost this like gray color, which looks dead. I'm like, I think I'd rather have blue purple than gray under my eyes. So I was looking even more dead than I already felt. And so once I realized, okay, I'm putting this color on top of a color and that's changing it to something that looks really bad, light bulb moment. Okay, so because of the color of my under eye circles, and if you struggle with this problem, you can send me a bare face selfie. I'm just standing in front of a sunny window right now. Not really too sunny, it's kind of cloudy, but you can see all of the tones in my skin. It's great if you pull your shirt down a little bit so I can see your neck and chest as well for a color match photo. But if you are struggling with your under eye area and you want a custom concealer, I can help you with that. So for me, look at the color that I'm going to use. It's a lip and cheek color. It's called Frenchie, and Frenchie has so many color corrective properties in it, especially if your under eye circles are the blue purple tone, which is what mine are. So I'm just going to take my finger into Frenchie, and I don't have anything but the Saint Cream on, and I am just going to put a super light layer of Frenchie right under my eyes. And what this is doing is it's correcting that color. It's like filtering out the color that I don't love right there. Okay, so it's gonna look a little scary for a minute. It's gonna look worse before it looks better, but it's okay. So I'm gonna let that just sit there for a moment, and I'm gonna go ahead and highlight and contour real quick. So I'm gonna use my 3D brush, and I'm gonna go into my main highlight color, which is Candle Lit right now. So I'm just dipping right in there, and I'm just gonna swirl all around. I had left my makeup in the car overnight because literally every single day I'm running out the door. So I grab this, and I put this in my lunchbox and do my makeup in carpool. Okay, so anyway, I left it in the car and it was cold. So what I did is I just ran a blow dryer over the top of it this morning when I was blow drying my hair, and bada bing, bada boom, wakes it back up. Because this is cream, and so if it gets cold, it tends to not want to glide on. But I love that blow dryer trick. Or even like in the summertime, if you, wherever you store your makeup, if there's an air conditioning vent near it, it's a great tip then too. Okay. So I just put a light layer right there, and you can see I kind of avoided that under eye area for the moment because throughout my whole face, I'm just kind of doing these quick little buffing circles all over. But under my eye, I don't want to do circles. Number one, because it's such a gentle area, but I also don't want to swipe away that color correction that I've placed there. So I'm actually going to combine these two colors. I'm just going to dip, dip, dip right back and forth. And then under my eye area, I'm going to stipple. So I sort of press the product in and do these light kind of pressing motions to just stipple right on there. Just like that. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Just stipple. Right over that Frenchie. And it makes just a world of difference. Right under my eyelids tends to get really red too because I have allergies, and when I'm tired, my like lower lid line just gets like pink. And nothing can solve that except sleep. So It's about as good as it's gonna get for this mama today. Okay, now I'm gonna go in and add my contour. So you can see when I put that candle lit all over, it really evened out my skin tone, gives me this beautiful, luminous, skin-like glow. But it sort of washes me out a little bit because I'm evening everything out. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go back in and add some dimension with some contour. So I'm using now the detail brush, and I like to just pop this right on my cheekbones, just like this. And then I go right along my forehead. And then I scoop it along my jaw, just like this. And so what this is doing is I am emphasizing this natural shadow that's right here. And so that just makes us look a little thinner. And then here I'm just adding in that dimension on my cheekbones, scooping those out and adding some sculpt there. And it truly makes such a difference. And you can see how it looks kind of crazy, but then it just blends so easy peasy. Just beautifully. Just like that. So you can think of contour as like a 3 or an E on your face, okay? Not scary. Sometimes I take my 3D brush back and just clean up that contour a little bit. It's cream, so I can just move it around however I want. Okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna go back into Frenchie and use Frenchie as my cheek color too. It's just such a pretty like coral nude. It's so beautiful. I've been using it all week. Place a little on my lips too. Just love it. Such a pretty spring color. And then I like to blend it with my blush bronzer brush. I just love this brush. And I'm switching around brushes today because I'm feeling extra. You can totally do this with just one brush, but I love them all, so I want to use them all. But you totally don't have to. Okay? So there we go. You can see that contour, and then Frenchie just gives me some color and life. So pretty. Okay, what I am going to do next is we are going to chat oily skin, okay? So if you have oily skin, something that I suggest, first we talked about great skincare and a great moisturizer. The next thing you can do is use a setting powder. And so we have, Saint has one and it's called Vanilla Dust, and I love it, but it's in a different compact. And so what I like to do with the Vanilla Dust is I like to take a spoolie brush like this, and I like to kind of rough it up a little bit to get some powder loose. And then I take a brush and I just pat it in the areas that I get oily. But I also super love this Morphe brand Bake and Set translucent setting powder. So any translucent powder that you have will do. I've actually seen people use like Maybelline, like the Fit Me powder, and they can pop that little circular tin out of the little compact, and they've put it in their Saint compact because it's metal and so it's magnetic. Okay, so what I do is I just tap a little setting powder in there, grab a fluffy brush or a sponge. Your Perfector sponge would be great for this, and you can just place it in the areas that you get oily. So if you're really oily, I would suggest baking, which is kind of what this is, where I'm putting an excess of powder on, like this. And I like to come under my eyes because that's going to prevent any creasing there. And also if you have creasing eyeshadow problems, do the setting powder on your lids too, and that will really, really help with that. Okay, so I just kind of go right in my T-zone because that tends to be the area that I get oily. Okay, so then you can just fluff away any of that extra powder. And there you go. That is gonna make your makeup last all day. Also, if you're struggling, if you wear a mask and your makeup is rubbing off, a good setting powder will really help with that too. And a setting spray, I would recommend both of those. Okay? So, last step is I'm gonna add some illuminator, and I like to save that for last when I use a setting powder, because also if you prefer a matte look, a setting powder will give you a matte look. For me, I like the dewy, youthful, glowy look, and so if I put a setting powder on, I kind of feel like that takes away from this, and so then I put illuminator over the top, my last step, so that will bring some glow back. And I just go right on the high points of my face, sort of in this C shape right here where the light naturally catches. So illuminator is just mimicking that natural light. Then I like to go a little bit right here. And the baby just woke up. So that's my cue that I am done. So if anybody has any questions about under eye circles, oily skin, any skin concerns, go ahead and reach out to me. I am so happy to help. And if you would like a color match, I linked my color match form above. And I was also planning to do an eyeshadow look, but the baby woke up, so I linked the colors that I was going to use above as well. So I hope that you all have a beautiful Saturday and a great weekend with your families, and we'll talk to you soon. Stay gorgeous.